Hey everybody, it's Nate with Sauce Ain't the Boss here again, and today is day number 91 of quitting alcohol. So you've made your mind up that you want to quit drinking alcohol, but how do you do it? How do I get to be a non-drinker? That's the big question. You know, maybe you've tried quitting drinking in the past and you've been unsuccessful, and you're starting to feel defeated, like you'll never be able to do it. Well, let me tell you guys, I was in the same boat. I was failing time and time again. I must have failed at quitting drinking at least 100 times. I've never been as far as I am now into the non-drinking journey of 91 days in my 20 years of drinking. And I just want to help you guys with some tips and tricks that have helped me to get this far in my 91 days of not drinking. The first thing I did before I even stopped drinking, in fact, I was still drinking at the time I did this, is I wrote a list of pros and cons. And I wrote all the things in my life that were positive due to my drinking. And I wrote all the things that were negative in my life due to drinking. And when I got done with that list, the things that were negative in my life due to drinking was way, way longer than the pros. I think, you know, if you come to this channel and you've decided you want to quit drinking, if you make that list too, you're going to quickly find that there's a lot more reasons to quit drinking alcohol than to continue doing it. So, and that list will be a big reminder and help later on in your journey. If you write that down, you can pull that out and go back to it and realize why you started this journey in the first place. Because sometimes after you get in on the journey, some of that doubt starts setting in as to whether or not I should really be quitting, you know, and your cravings start and the triggers start, and you know, the road gets a little bumpy and you find yourself gravitating back towards alcohol thoughts. And it's nice to have the pros and cons to go, holy crap, I realize why, you know, I'm doing this, and what maybe made my mind up in the first place to give up alcohol, you know. So the next thing is, you know, make a plan on when to start. When are you going to start quitting alcohol? You know, if your birthday's coming up in 2 days, maybe that's going to be a significant trigger for you, and you start the 2 days and then boom, you're right back in the drinking because you had a major event going on in your life that would be a big trigger or craving. So I don't think there's ever a perfect time to quit drinking, but sometimes you're probably going to be better than others. Are you going to try to quit drinking on New Year's Eve, or you know, a major holiday, or you've got a big barbecue bash coming up? You know, maybe that's fine, but for some people, I think you're going to have more success if you kind of look at a calendar and go, hey, you know I've got nothing going on for the next couple of weeks or the next month. This would be a great time to quit drinking, because I can distance myself away from alcohol long enough before the next major thing where drinking's involved in my life, and I can get away from that initial, you know, wanting to go back to drinking because you're doing something where alcohol's involved, you know, with the other people that are there or around you. So make a, you know, look at a calendar, look at your plans, and figure out when's a good time to start. The next step is, you know, you've got your pros and cons list, you got a date set in mind, you're going to start. Remove all the alcohol from your house before you begin the day that you're going to quit drinking on. A lot of people, if it's convenient, it's there, it's looking you in the face when you open the fridge, or your wine rack over there is full of wine, or your liquor cabinet's full of liquor. You're going to sit there and know that it's there, and it's easy to get when you have a moment of weakness, you know. There were times in my past when I would quit drinking and I had gotten rid of all the alcohol, and I'm drinking today, and I'd start driving to the store, and I would snap out of it before I got to the store, and I would turn around the car and come home and not buy the alcohol, you know. It gives you, you know, if it's right there instantaneous and you can get at it, it's a little bit more easy to grab that drink than if you actually have to get in your car, go drive somewhere, spend money on it. So that doesn't mean everybody has to do that, but you know, if you got other drinkers in the house that you just can't get away from, maybe that's not possible, but it is something that can help, I think, you know, for those of us that are able to do that. The next thing is create some accountability. Let some people know what you're doing. Start a YouTube channel. Do an Instagram page, Facebook page. You know, and some people are more private than others. That's not for everybody. But I think, you know, letting the people closest to you, or at least one person, hey, you know, I'm trying to get away from drinking. And, you know, you don't have to tell somebody you're an alcoholic or you've got a major drinking problem to say, you know, I've decided to, you know, alcohol is just not doing me any good in life anymore. I want to get more healthy, and so I'm going to quit drinking. And I just want to let you know. And, you know, I think that, you know, being accountable to some other people other than just yourself is a big tool. It's helped me do this YouTube channel. Has been huge, like I mentioned in previous videos. So have some accountability there. And then the next thing is, okay, what are you going to do and plan in place of your drinking time? Now, a lot of us get off work, we get home, and the drinking begins there. Maybe for some of us, we get off work and we go down to the bar. That's obviously something that you're going to need to stop. I don't think it's a good idea to continue going down to a bar with a bunch of other drinkers if you're trying to quit. It's just not conducive to this process. So you may have to, you know, leave some of those drinking buddies behind. And but the key here is, what are you going to do now in place of going to the bar, or in place of coming home and drinking? And I think it's important, and this has been huge for me, is especially the first month, but for sure the first 2 weeks, I think you should write, or at least have, you can do it on your phone, do it on the computer, write it down, mental notes maybe, but what am I going to do on Monday? What am I going to do on Tuesday? You know, for me, I started drinking about 4 or 5 o'clock every day. And so making a plan, okay, you know, I think Tuesday I'll go visit my mom and dad, or, you know, Wednesday I'm going to go see a movie. Thursday I'm going to, you know, go to the park with my kids, or, you know, whatever it is. You can do things like, just a quick list I put together of some of the things that you can schedule. You know, like I said, visit people, go shopping. If you got shopping you need to do it after work when you would normally drink, or on the weekends. You know, if that was, you're a weekend warrior that drinks all the time, you know, on the weekends. Plan these things then. Doing yard work, cleaning your house, cleaning your cars, working on projects around the house, little things that need to get done. Your gutters need cleaning, or, you know, maybe you got a leaky faucet. You know, those things that you've been putting off because you've been drinking so much and not feeling like getting motivated to do, you can finally start scheduling and getting those things done during that time you would normally drink. Going back to some of your old hobbies that you used to do that you haven't been doing because of your drinking maybe, and pick up some new hobbies. Think of the things that you've always wanted to try or do, playing an instrument, or, you know, maybe it's playing golf, snowboarding. You know, there's a lot of things. The next thing is exercising. That's been huge for me. That gets your endorphins going. It gets out maybe any aggression from the day, helps you relax more after you've exerted yourself. So that's a big one for sure. So yeah, just make plans Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. What are you going to do every day in place of drinking? And that's going to keep you busy and occupied, because that's a huge thing in the first couple of weeks, is keeping yourself so busy that you don't have that idle time that makes you kind of crave the alcohol or feel like you're missing something. Even when I was drinking, I noticed if I just had a super busy week, I didn't really have as much time to drink the alcohol because I had so much going on. So that's going to help you guys out a lot, I think. The next thing is going into it with the right mindset. You know, make your mind up that alcohol is no good for you anymore. It's just a poison. It gives you hangovers. It's wrecking your health, your relationships. It's making you do and say dumb stuff. I mean, you know, think about all the bad things that alcohol is. You know, and realize that and move forward in this process with that continued mindset. And as your mind can either be your best friend or your worst enemy in this journey. And you need to train it to be on your side. As soon as you see thoughts gravitating towards going back to drinking, turn those around into why you're doing this in the first place. All the bad things that have happened in your life due to your drinking, and all the positive things that are going to start happening in the future once you distance yourself from the alcohol. Don't let your mind take over and say, oh, I miss drinking. Oh, I could really use a drink right now. You can't help that those thoughts are going to pop into your head, but you can either turn the dial up on those thoughts, or you can just switch those suckers off and start thinking about something more productive that's going to help you stay on the path that you're laying for yourself, you know. So getting your mind on your side, the sooner you can do that, and it takes a little bit of time, but it's just it's the training, and it's not dwelling on those thoughts when they pop in there. You know, for me, I also had to avoid certain movies or music even, you know, certain songs. You know, I have a really wild taste in music. I mean, everything from, you know, country music to some rap to heavy metal to, you know, classical. I mean, my taste in music is just all over the board. But I would notice a lot of country songs always talking about drinking beer, you know, and, you know, on a Friday night. And I just, I couldn't listen to country music for some reason, because it seemed like every song was talking about, you know, neon lights and getting drunk. And it was kind of just a noticeable little trigger that, you know, I thought, why do I feel like drinking when I'm listening to this crap, you know? So you might find yourself little triggers like movies or music that are shows that you watch that you may have to avoid for a while. I know that sounds silly, but that old country music got me a little bit. So that's something, bear with me. I'm looking at a list here I wrote down because I don't want to forget anything. Nature, getting out in nature, and just, sometimes I would just go sit out on my deck and just feel. I would have cravings sometimes, and I would just sit there and feel the cravings and just observe them. Wouldn't dwell on the thoughts of drinking and let them pass. Kind of it's called surfing your cravings, when you have this craving and you just kind of let it flow in and out of you, and just, you know, and then sometimes I'd get up and do something. But nature, as far as, you know, hiking, going for a walk, planning maybe, you know, if drinking is a big thing for you on the weekends, maybe planning an outdoor adventure, going for a fishing trip, a hike, snowboarding, skiing, I mean, whatever you like to do to get you outdoors, golf, like I say. But nature has really helped heal me, just being out there in the peace and quiet and taking in the beauty around me. And that's been a big one for me, so hopefully you guys get something out of that as well. I learned to keep my fridge well stocked with the beverages that I liked other than alcohol. You know, when you're craving alcohol, a lot of the times I noticed, even when I was a drinker, if I would let myself get really hungry or let myself get really thirsty, I would crave alcohol. So keeping yourself well fed and drinks on hand. For me, I'm a big fan of sparkling flavored waters. There's no calories in them, no sugar. It's just basically carbonated water with flavoring. And there's a whole bunch of different brands and flavors out there, and it keeps some variety. Whatever it is you like to drink that's non-alcoholic, you know. I do like to say to stay away from non-alcoholic beer and wine. For me, it's like if you're trying to get out of the behavior of drinking and you're drinking non-alcoholic beer and non-alcoholic wine, I mean, that may work for some people. For me, just that, you know, feeling like I wanted to keep drinking beer of any sort, that flavor kept me, I guess, in that mindset of, you know, this is beer, but I'm missing out on something. I don't know. For me, it just wasn't a good thing. Maybe it works for some people, but for me, I'd rather drink something completely different. I was a big coffee and sparkling water guy. So keep yourself well fed. Keep your fridge stocked full of things that you like to drink cold, and that way, you know, you just see that slight, you know, oncoming craving, you can run to your fridge and crack something that's cold. And if it's, you know, try to, you know, be mindful of your health. I mean, but if it's got to be a soda or something like that, you know, it's better than drinking a beer or, you know, pouring yourself a shot. So, But I think you need to be mindful of your health as you enter in on this process too. Because for me, that's been huge as well. Knowing that I'm on the right path with not only quitting alcohol, but feeling better and being in a clear mindset from eating healthy foods. It's all just kind of a whole package, which is what I'm trying to explain to you guys with all these different things that have worked for me. I think if you do a lot of these things or try to do all of them, you know, it's going to give you a better, well-rounded experience and more of an ability to be successful at it. At least for me, you know, this list, maybe some of these don't work for you, and that's fine. Maybe there's other things that you guys know how to do that work for you, and leave some of those comments down below. But exercise, we talked about that, making sure you're exercising, and that's endorphins and all that. And watch where you go and what you do, you know. In the first month especially, if, you know, there's a event coming up that you know there's going to be alcohol and you don't feel strong enough yet to attend it, just don't go. And I think, you know, that's better than, you know, trying to risk it and then falling off the wagon, so to speak. I think that whether it's a birthday party, a holiday party, work party, you know what those things are going to be for you that could be a potential trigger. And I feel strong enough now, and I've been to things where there's alcohol or whatever, and at 90 days in, it's no big deal to me anymore. But I think that in the first month, it would have been more of a bit of a challenge, and that's when you're the most vulnerable, I think. So keeping in mind what you're doing, where you're going is a big deal. And avoiding triggers, you know, if there's just certain things, you know, I talk to people, and every time I smoke, I want to drink, or anytime I drink, I want to smoke. So smoking and you know, alcohol go hand in hand for some people. I know some people say smoking and coffee. So, you know, if there's any of those food triggers, you know, if I eat a steak, I want to have you know, a glass of wine. Maybe you don't eat steak for a while. I mean, anything that's going to be a potential trigger, kind of maybe analyze those before you start your journey and think about what I should probably avoid to not have those triggers. The other key in this whole thing is don't trade one habit for another. You know, you're trying to start a healthy new life away from alcohol. If all of a sudden, you know, you start eating half gallons of ice cream every night, in place of alcohol, is that really what you want to be doing? And how long is that going to last, you know? Or, you know, maybe you find yourself becoming a workaholic and not balanced with your family. There's a lot of other things that you can, if you have, I don't even know if it exists, but if an addictive personality exists and you think that you have that, do you really want to shift all that, you know, into something else that's not balanced in life? I mean, the goal here is to create a balanced life. Now, if that means you got to eat ice cream for a little bit just to get over, you know, now and then, okay. But I would just watch, you know, that you don't trade one bad habit. You know, all of a sudden you start smoking marijuana like crazy, or, you know, there's all kinds of different things you can get addicted to. So just be careful. And then next, you know, how do I deal with the cravings? I like to call it your alcohol tool bag, you know. The tools that I've had to use to deal with cravings. Number one, there's the willpower tool. Now, that's not something, you can't go through this entire process willing yourself to never drink again. I'm just going to sheer willpower it. You know, eventually you're going to end up either going back to the alcohol or miserable trying to will yourself. But it is a tool that if that's all you have to lean on for that moment in time, that one craving, it's great. It's okay to use that, you know. And then you'll find that you have other tools that you can use later on that you establish that work. But sometimes you do have to pull out, you know what, I really want to drink and I can't seem to just kick this feeling, so I'm just going to make darn sure I will myself to just not drink right now. And that's okay to do that every once in a while, you know, but as a whole, for the entire process, it ain't going to work, you know, but it's a tool to use when you have to use it. I've used it plenty of times, and it's a good one to have. The other thing is, to, like I mentioned, surf your cravings. All of a sudden, you feel overwhelmingly like you want to drink. You know, sit down in a chair. I used to sit on my deck and just kind of look up at the sky and just feel, why do I want to drink? I'm just feeling this, you know. Is it because I don't know how to relax? Is it because I've been stressed? And just, you know, don't dwell on it. That's the other thing. Don't sit there and let that thought of alcohol oh man, I really want to drink, I really want to drink, and let that build up to where it's out of control. Turn it off and just feel, let that flow. And that works sometimes. Sometimes I'd sit there and maybe I started to notice that the craving got worse at times. So then I would get up and do something. That's another tool. You know, rather than just sitting there pining after alcohol, if you see yourself gravitating that direction, get your butt up and go for a walk, you know, go do some housework. I mean, anything, but, you know, and you'll find that once you get occupied with something else, spend some time with your kids or your significant other or whatever, you'll find that those, you know, cravings start to fade away. The other thing is, some people said, you know, work for them was taking a nap or going to bed early. If you've got a bad craving and that works for you. That wasn't one that I typically went to or used, but I know that works for some people. And if you're that kind of person that you think that's a good route to go, absolutely. You know, call it a day and wake up fresh. You know, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Again, grabbing a cold beverage or coffee, snack, something that's just going to, you know, maybe fill that empty void you're feeling. You know, again, you don't want to grab junk food, but maybe have some low calorie things that hit the spot for you, you know, and have those available on hand. And then, again, the big thing, don't dwell on the craving. Turn it off and think about something else. Pull out that pros and cons list that you did in the beginning when you have an alcohol. You know what? Let me kind of bring that thing out again. And why am I doing this again? And oh, that's why, you know. And sometimes you just got to remind yourself why you're on this journey, and it helps, you know. So, and then sit there and think about how far you've come. I remember so many times when I would fail in the past of drinking, I'd be a month in or something like that, or 3 weeks, and I'd go back to drinking, and I would sit there and go, man, I came so far, and why am I doing this? And, you know, before you pick up that drink, do you really want to go back to that old life of misery that you're trying to get away from, only to start at day 0 again down the road when you finally muster up enough courage? Because when I went back to drinking, it was all in. I would go for weeks and weeks, maybe months, before I would have the courage to quit again. And so I would do all that much more damage to my body. I would do all that much more, you know, habitual behavior that would make it harder the next time. So ask yourself before you pick that drink up, do I really want to go through this again and again and again? And, you know, that might help you to snap yourself out of it. So those are some tips, guys, on how I've gotten through to day 91. And I want to say the most important thing of all is time. You can't rush the process. Have a good plan. Have some go-tos. Get your tool bag out for quitting alcohol. That, you know, some of these things are going to work for you. But the longer you go, the smoother the road gets, and the better your life gets. And like I said, you know, stopping the alcohol, that's the first step. But then you got to start, after you distance yourself away from the alcohol enough and your mind starts getting clear because the brain fog dissipates, you start feeling good again, your sleep returns to normal after about the first 3 weeks to a month, and you're just ready to kind of, you know, your hormone levels adjust. You're going to have mood swings and you're going to have bad sleep, you know, during the first month, and you're just, your endorphins and, not endorphins, what's the word I'm looking for? Just your hormones and all that stuff's out of whack, you know, and your dopamine levels, that's what I was looking for, are out of whack. And, you know, that's all got to reset itself if you've been drinking alcohol in mass quantities for a long period of time like I had. And, you know, I felt my anxiety building up in the first month and a lot of different things. And I just, you know, the best thing for me was I called it, just feeling. I would just go out on my deck sometimes. Sometimes I'd sit there for a couple hours and just feel what I had to feel, because I'd been numbing myself with alcohol for so long that I really forgot what I was running from and what I needed to feel. And sometimes it's painful, and if it gets too painful, you know, you can get up and do something else. But, you know, sometimes you got to feel a little bit of discomfort and a little bit of pain, and all this stuff is temporary. It's you got to go through it. It's a little unpleasant, but, you know, you've got 2 lives that you can live: a life with the bottle and where that's going to end up, and do the math on that. and then your life without alcohol and where that's going to go. Do the math on that. You know, which future for yourself looks brighter, looks better, and looks longer than, you know, the others. So with that said, guys, best of luck to you. If you're on day one, go back to my day one video. That's one of the reasons I created this channel, was go, you know, follow along. I'm on day one. I'm on day two. Where was Nate at, you know? And not that I'm some guru. I'm just a regular Joe Schmo, you know, dude that was hooked on alcohol. And I wanted to quit on my own. I didn't want to go to AA. I didn't want to, you know, go to some rehab clinic. There's lots and lots of people that quit on their own, and you know, with social media, if I'm not the guy to follow, there's plenty of other sober coaches. I'm no sober coach. I'm just, like I say, a regular guy that wants to share his experiences and hopes to help somebody. But you know, and I'm not for everyone. So. But, you know, if you're getting something out of these, go and follow the videos day by day. And, you know, I hope you get something out of them. So with that said, subscribe to the channel if you can. And most importantly, remember, Sauce ain't the boss. You are. You guys have a great day.